All right, glad to have you back. This is still Business Launch here on Kaftan TV. All right, we begin the conversation this afternoon. Now we're looking at the issue of entrepreneurship and how we can key into the prospects and still understand the challenges and how to overcome them. We have Charles Eromosele, who is a management consultant here in Lagos, Nigeria. Very good afternoon. Thank you for joining us once again.
Good afternoon. Welcome.
All right, now still talking about entrepreneurship. How significant is the topic, especially this dispensation that we are in here in the country, Nigeria, to be specific?
All right, I think entrepreneurship is a very key thing that everybody needs to begin to look into now, because with the level of economic or with the economic situation we are in now, it's very critical for people to begin to think differently. Think differently about what you have to offer, which I would call value development. Not necessarily business development, value development, because the truth of the matter, for anything to be business, there needs to be an exchange of something.
Value, yeah.
So at the end of the day, you are giving value and somebody is able to exchange that for money. So I always use this word. The truth of the matter is that there's actually no money if you don't have anything to sell. So what are you selling? So that's actually where the entrepreneurship system actually evolves and comes from.
So, when we talk about entrepreneurship, a lot of youth, a lot of young minds are not really looking towards this direction. And considering the rate of unemployment right now in the country, I can't imagine someone after upon graduation, 5 years in school, no job forthcoming. And they'll feel like the next thing to do for you is to think outside the box, like going into entrepreneurship. But most of them see this as a kind of a risk. So how do you think this is one of the reasons why most of them are not looking towards the area of entrepreneurship at all?
Yeah, I think the narrative have actually come to be because of the way entrepreneurship has actually been portrayed. And the reason, if you actually go way back into history, where the problem actually starts from is actually when it comes from the industrial age.
Yeah.
Now, industrial age in Europe actually began with what they refer to as the Prussian system. Prussian system is a situation where there had to be massive education so that people can be employable. So the education we have for today, or rather the education we had in the third industrial revolution, was an education that gave room for people to get schooled for jobs, not to get schooled to own ideas. So, but where the rest of the world now, they have moved into what we refer to as the fourth industrial revolution, that's technological driven, the connected economy, and people are beginning to understand how to portray their entrepreneurship prowess. We back in Africa, in Nigeria, we are still using the Prussian system, which is employment driven. Yeah. So what we're doing is that you're taking the average person that is wired for employment and trying to make the person think entrepreneurial. That's not going to happen until we are going to look into our curriculum and say, okay, where do we now begin to bring back our old days business study and make it attractive for people to begin to see the how they can implement it, and how, a workable system that makes it beautiful. So I think that's where we have the problem. For example, you talk about agriculture. Nothing is wrong with being a farmer. Maybe what is wrong is the picture of farmer that the youth has. The picture of farmer that the youth has is that one that takes a hold. Yeah. And no, but today's farmer are mechanized farmers.
Yeah.
In short, some of them have more technological gadgets that are more sophisticated than even people that even are into computer sciences. So what are we talking about? So I think it's the mode that needs to change.
Do you feel we have positive, policies that are geared towards encouraging, self-reliance and entrepreneurship in this country?
Well, we did used to have. I think what we have basically is that there is a proactive way to handle something, there's a reactive way. What we are doing right now is a reactive model. We have now seen, okay, there's a challenge with the economy, and so in the bid of trying to create fire brigade approach, we are now beginning to react by producing funds, relief funds, something that should have been done systematically if we were proactive to see. Yeah. So I think with what is happening right now, the government needs to begin to look into, I always say this, look into private-public partnerships. What individuals could serve as role models for the youth in terms of, taking something from small to big. As far as I'm concerned, Dangote is just a salesperson that has been able to understand, okay, people are going to need this, so let me put this idea together, and then it starts. So if the average users have models that they can look at, like I always also say, don't look at where Dangote is right now, look at where Dangote started from, and look at the trajectory. Maybe you can begin to have a vision for your business, and then begin to understand, if I do A, if I do B, if I do C, it will get there. So I think that is we have not really been proactive as a country, as a continent, when it comes to entrepreneurship. Basically, we've always received handouts, but so we are not teaching our people on how to be owners of business. We are teaching them on how to, be employees and all that thing, which is not a bad model. But there's no country presently anywhere in the world that survives based on a large workforce system when it comes to the employee base. Every country is beginning to gravitate towards entrepreneurial mindset, even in government. So right now, if you get to, I've been privileged to get to some foreign companies to see their, how their organizational system is planned. You'll be amazed that every single employee is being trained right now to think entrepreneurially in their job. So it makes it more competitive. So that's actually what I think the Nigerian government should start doing right now. You don't necessarily have staff, you have stakeholders, internal stakeholders, yes.
Talking about entrepreneur, at what stage, because I really want to ask, because some people believe that until when you graduate, that's when you need to start getting your skills, entrepreneurial skills. And by that time, it will just be like too late for you, because, at that stage, it's the time for you to also get a job and start earning a living for yourself. But at that point is when you now start looking for, okay, where can I get skills? Where can I get skills from? At what stage do you think it is right for you to start getting all these entrepreneurial skills?
I would say as early as possible. Two things drive people into entrepreneurship. Number one is being proactive to understand, okay, I have a gift, I have a value, I have a potential, I have something that I can really develop that can make money for me. And then the second thing is situations where people, okay, like you said, someone has graduated out of school right now, nothing is forthcoming. So automatically the next question is, what can bring money back to me? But I rather prefer to take the former. In other words, you need to be proactive about your entrepreneurship journey. The question, a simple question, and funny enough, I even have a book on that. The simple question is, what do you have to sell? What do you have to sell? That's where the first question has to come from. Not how much do I have? Not who is going to purchase. What do you have first of all? Because by the time you've been able to define what you have, then you can now build a concept around it. And what I normally tell people, the mistake again is mistake of association. Because again, when they always tell us this in school, then of course, maybe you're a medical student, you're trying to roam around with somebody that is a party goer. You are not going to do well in school. So we need to also begin to have cluster relationship. I think that was the time we also talked about, I think government should also step in where, in different communities, different setups, let there be entrepreneurial hubs. Let there be youth development centers that are entrepreneurial driven, where skill acquisition is on a daily basis. Then what you do, you're going to be also able to reduce crime. You're going to help, because when an individual, when a youth is able to have that sense of belonging, that's something, I am making this money for myself, it gives them self-worth. But when we don't do that, because there's no self-worth, there's no self-value, of course, they give their life to chances, juvenile delinquency, and so many other vices, because, of course, I don't have value. So if I cannot get it the right way, let me get it the wrong way.
Talking about, skill centers and hubs. Let me quickly address the issue in the educational system. I was speaking with one of my friends who was telling me that she's reading hard for the exams. And now, exam is tomorrow, and today you are reading very hard. So it seems that the system has been fashioned in a way that we are encouraged to read just to pass the exam. Don't you think it's high time we incorporate skill acquisition in our school system? Not just the theoretical part of it, but practical knowledge of what to expect, the realities in the society, fitting into the society after graduation, because numerous level of unemployment is not making things easy.
Yes. It's funny, and one of the richest parts in every university. This will sound very funny. One of the richest parts in every university is where they have projects piled up. Nothing. So at the end of the day, it's all about you just finishing school. You submit a project work, and
supervisor just dumped it at the side of the office.
It gives you a pass mark, and that's all. I think that's actually so. We have failed in terms of our research. So the truth of the matter, until this is an age-long problem that I really don't know where we are going to be able to address it. But I think the advice is rather to the person that's going to school. you cannot wait for government. You have to be proactive enough to think, do something with your life, attend seminars. Some people right now, as we are speaking to you, as we are speaking right now, some people rather would not focus on this kind of programs, but rather they want to go and, I don't want to mention it, they've been doing kind of programs, they want to go, Z World and other things. So at the end of the day, so we are more entertainment driven than we are education driven, in the true sense of education. Now, the person reading to go and pass, that's not education. Any wise parent that have left school years ago understand that true education. That's why no wonder when you get to other developed part of the country, of the world rather, you discover that the system is so organized that you don't even need to have a physical presence in class to be scored. The most important thing that the school, the system they target is, are you practically knowledgeable enough for what you know? And if anybody that actually goes to actually review the Harvard business school system, that's actually what it's about. It's not just about the theoretical, it's more about the practical reshaping of your mind, the paradigm shift. So that's what the average Nigerian needs to do. So right now, when there's no school, in school, you're never taught to make money. So, and my own dilemma, what gets me very angry about the system we have presently in Africa is that the first time a youth will ever make a decision in their life is during youth service. Because primary school, they are decided for, secondary school is decided for. If you have, if you're not careful, a larger percentage of the African child, even the course you go to study in university, is decided for you. So you finish your 634 system or more, and then you get out during the youth service, the first time you are faced to decide for your life is going to be a catastrophe. So like answering that question again, it needs to start early. I think we need to begin to have private systems now. Thank God we have private universities coming, private that can come up with well-defined curriculum where entrepreneurship is more practical and, very importantly, is more enjoyable. There's a difference between, how do I say this now? There are different kind of teachers. A real teacher is one that wants to train you to understand, not garbage in, garbage out. Just get to know theory, give me my answers, and then you get the score So I think we need to change. That's an age-long problem. I don't really know how we are going to be able to solve. But thank God we're in the information age right now, where anything you're looking for in school is on Google. So go Google it. So we need to have our youth spend more time on YouTube, spend more time with Google. Get these things, there's a lot of resources that in the next 10 years we will not be able to exhaust that's on the internet. So I think the average youth, knowing that, now the average youth again, maybe at home reading this kind of thing, I will not know the importance of what we are saying until they get to a point where, there's no meal on the table, there's nothing, and you start making decisions. So it's very important for you to understand that in life, that's what we refer to as situations. You either allow circumstance and situation direct your life, or you allow your own ability to sense that if something I don't do something now, something is going to happen. The naira is already, it's 500 and something now. Before you know, it's 8,000.
I just hope it doesn't get to that.
We hope so. We hope so. But the question is not whether we hope or we don't. What are you doing right now to make sure it doesn't get to? What service are you delivering? If you're at home, we listen to this and I don't have any money to say, okay, this is what I'm getting this more, then you should begin to ask yourself some very critical question. Let there be a sober reflection. Am I producing enough to attract what I'm looking for? So those are questions we need, critical questions, and nobody will ever ask for, never will ever ask you.
I really love this conversation because it's also a way to actually eradicate unemployment, the rising unemployment we are having in the nation now. But we have some graduates that have these skills, these vocational skills, but they do not have the capital. So capital is really a big challenge to them, because for you to actually maybe like get a skill, maybe additional skill to yourself, you need to pay for it. Even if you want to learn on YouTube or whatever, you need to pay for data. You have to have a strong data. And you don't have that financial ability. So how can such person overcome the issue of capital?
Okay, communication. Let me first correct an impression. I really don't think there's any problem with the basic resource, which is data.
Yeah.
Because that same youth, I can bet you, anybody can take me away and go and do your research. That same youth that you say is not able to have data to get to YouTube or Instagram, that person watched the entire season of BB Niger. So
But
it's
not all,
yeah,
not all
no,
of
no,
them.
no, but at least
No,
we
a
always
large
focus on
proportion,
majority, a
obviously.
large proportion. So because you make available resource for what is important to you. So the challenge, I think it's more of interest. Our interest needs to be built around what can add extra value. Every 5 naira, every 1 naira, every 10 naira, every 1,000 naira is supposed to duplicate. So the only way it can duplicate is I translate that money into value that can be sold, and then that value and every brings money back to you. Nobody pays you for what you don't provide. People only pay you for what you are able to produce or a service you are able to render. So with the minimal resource you have, somebody said until you are ready to, that you can only, as much, success can only come to as much as you are willing to breathe. If that's how you want success, then you will get it. So the truth of the matter, I think we need to change the narrative and not make excuses for the youth. Resources are in 3 different levels. There's the financial resource, there's the human capital, the kind of friends you have, the people you have, family and friends around you. So it doesn't matter. One of the things you need to do, if you don't need to necessarily have the money to start
build
something.
a network first.
You can build a network. Be a part of a community system where that gives room for that. All of the announcements, there are several, training going on right now. The Lagos State government already has one right now where they actually begin to create room for soft funding, credit facilities for sending people. Now, are you aware of that information? So that's where we need to start for first. Yeah. So information gathering is very important. During the UN time years ago, it was the same problem, which quite a lot of people never got in because that first step of, okay, let me just go and apply, they didn't do that. To the Lumelu on came the same thing. A lot of people actually did not take advantage of that position. As I tell you right now, the Lagos State government also released some things. How many people are aware about those opportunities? So in other words, what am I trying to say? You need to redirect your mindset to where you can get information that can be actually that can be of benefit to you. The amount of time we give to entertainment is more than the amount of time we give to actually creating the what can bring back return in terms of knowledge base and skill to us. And another important segment we also live in also is the segment of people that are also within the working class, which is another very dangerous thing. I always ask this question whenever I have the opportunity to speak to leaders or to speak within several organizations. One of the questions I ask them: if you come to work on tomorrow, if you come to work tomorrow and you're told you are fired, what will you fall back on? So you can now see that entrepreneurship is not just for the average youth. Every single Nigerian needs to begin to think about enterprise development, because that's where entrepreneurship. Yes, employed or not employed. So that's the most important thing. Maybe the average person that actually has a job right now can be able to like open up a system, develop a skill, and maybe they can actually be the one that can actually take those 2 youth corpers that are finished no job, or the people that finish from school, and employ them to do a particular skill. Because what will now happen is that something you don't start now, when it's already late, you cannot build it. You cannot build it. I've seen this with a lot of bankers that feel, oh, we handle money, and then something happens in the bank, they lose their job. That's the people that know how to handle money. They are not going to be able to handle a business, because the business of money is different from the business of products and services. So entrepreneurship is not just for the youth; it's for every single individual.
You know, I think you've made quite a number of vital points here, but let me quickly touch on the issue of funding from the part of the government. I think sometime last year we had the Youth Investment Fund of over 75 billion or so, and I still have a couple of young minds on the program here asking them how far they've gone. Were they able to access these funds? Did it get to them? You know, majority of them will tell you that we have not gotten any. You are a business consultant, a business manager. Do you think we are doing enough to fund this business in the proper way that it ought to go, especially in terms of distributing to the right source?
Yeah, that's a problematic. I have a problematic setup with what you just said right now, because what we actually need right now is not necessarily handouts. Financial inclusion, yes, we have a major issues, but we keep looking at pointing to government. There are a lot of organizations right now that have actually come up with several systems. They don't just want to give funds. I was part of one recently where we had to run a training. It's still under the Lagos State government. A training was actually run for a particular group of people, and different, I can't remember the number, I think they were over 100. But the first thing is that you have to be trained first to understand business ethics, understand skill. And then by the time you understand, you're able to do sales pitch and everything, and then you're actually giving money to go start up. So that's what I'm saying. The first thing we need to even understand first, it's not about the financial, because the average person that has the idea, he's so focused on the money that he has forgotten that even if he has the money, it has been tested with people that collect credit facility. You think money is your problem until you now have access to the fund. You now discover that way you didn't take a look at this, you didn't take a look at
no
this.
proper plan.
Yeah, no proper plan. But that's actually not to zero. That's not to also to run out of the fact really that financial inclusion is a problem, which I think the government needs to begin to also look into. It's very critical that we look into how do we make it easy to have people that can have these soft loans and soft and credit facility that can actually help them translate their ideas into something. Then another very important thing, this is very true as a human, if you have an idea that is actually worth something, don't be quiet. Launch out. You can shout about it on Facebook, shout about it on Instagram, wherever you have any platform, shout about it. I know people at the end of the day, we have people, that are event planners, that are big time event planners, but I know people that just go to an occasion. Please, I am an event planner by circumstance. And guess what? Because they have watched over time, they see what this person is doing, they are able to go. And those guys do well. You know why? Because they know that if they don't take a shot at that, they are not going to be able to have money. So I would say that, I don't know if I should that. There's a lot of accidental entrepreneurs that are doing well. So entrepreneurship basically is not just about the system. A lot of times, circumstance can take you to a place where you do very well. Yeah. And I've learned something about the entrepreneurship journey, which a lot of people that are actually doing well in business would actually attest to. Sometimes, because as an entrepreneur, you're not on a monthly system of payment, you have to be up and doing. So it's not doing well in your business. It's not an option. It's a necessity. You just must do well. So it forces you to that zone where your mind is expounded, your experience is expounded, you are willing to, there are certain things you learn. That's something they call street smart. Street smart was not taught in Harvard. When you say street smart business, it means that person grew from the street. And a lot of the billionaires that we know right now, a lot of them grew from the streets. Obi Kubana did not grow. It's not a Harvard graduate. I don't think it's a Lagos business school. So what am I trying to say? We need to begin to understand that in this journey, as an African, you're already wired with skill. Africans are the most intelligent people on the face of the earth. So if we learn to believe in our ideas, this is another challenge also. A lot of people also that are out there, they will not take the risk to get into that business. Why? Because they have not even learned to believe in themselves. One of the first things a business person will have is self-confidence. It's not an option, it's a necessity. Because the truth of the matter, when you come and you tell someone that you want them to purchase what you are selling, the first thing they buy is not what you are selling. The first thing they buy is your persona, your self-confidence, your aura. I have been in business before where somebody buys something for me, not because they need it, but man, you were so good at it, and the guy said, no, I can't just leave it to go that, and then he makes purchases. So I would always say that the circumstances are also very good because, again, we learn best from our failures. So one thing we must always learn that as an entrepreneur, please learn to fail. They asked one of the wealthiest men some years ago, I think it was Thomas, the owner of IBM, the CEO of IBM then. He said, what's the secret to success? And he said, double your failure rate. Because within your failures lies, your failure is the casing for the success you are going to get. So if you let a lot of businesses that are doing well right now, they didn't get to where they got to by going to Harvard or whatever. They got to where they're going to because they have failed in one thing. And so that thing, they learned from it. That's why it's very important that, please, if you fail, the most important thing is what am I learning from what I failed in? That's where entrepreneurship actually comes in. An entrepreneur necessarily is not about a business that is doing well. It's basically, risk. Yes, it's about understanding risk and understanding that the journey is not going to be easy. You have to tell yourself that from day one. So that you don't go with unexpected, some expectations that are just, fairy tales.
This quote you just cited now.
Double your failure rate.
Yes, double your failure rate. Just brought me to this question as we begin to wrap up, that a lot of people want to go into business. But they understand all those quotes from motivational speakers. Most of these motivational speakers, all these things, they don't really work for Nigerians. Let's be factual. Because they'll be like, I cannot fail. Because some of them will just get for they'll just access this credit facility, get loans. I expect me to fail after getting loan of 50,000 naira. You now say I should double my failure, kind of. But let's talk about those that want to venture into it, but they have this fear of failing, fear of the business just crumbling. After getting a loan of 100K and the business fails, what will they fall back on? So how can we overcome this fear factor?
Now, let me ask a question. A very simple analogy I will use now is the Titanic. Let's imagine you were in that particular ship and it was sinking. What do? Would you allow your fear of the sea prevent you from, taking a dive, at least, if that's your little means of survival? So I don't really think fear is actually something. Entrepreneurship is about fear.
Yeah.
Some of the biggest guys, please, maybe if
you
you
be at the
can,
back of the mind.
yes, maybe you should take a trip to the free trade zone and look at what Dangote sang there, and think that you think a person in his normal thinking would. It's that you have to have a lion heart to put that there. So a lot of people just think it's easy. Oh no, he's a billionaire, so that's why it's so easy to sing those things. It's not true. Some of the wealthiest people they have, some of them are growing gray hair at 35, 40 years. They are already because of the kind of So being an entrepreneur, you need to understand you must dive into your fears because the same sea that you see a lot of Americans surf on, those are the same sea that Nigerians will stay far out of fear. So fear and entrepreneurship, they don't mix. It's like oil and water, it doesn't mix. So you must make up your mind that the entrepreneurship journey is a very risky business and you must jump in early. Because what you don't jump in now, you will eventually jump in later, but at a very bad state. So I think people need to understand entrepreneurship, like I say, it's not an option, it's a necessity. Why do I say it's a necessity? There's this saying we say the rich gets richer and the poor gets poorer. Do you know why? Because the rich has learned a system that works on a seed level. And that's actually why, for example, the like of Dangote, you not see it just stayed with cement, or it says, no, several things are coming up to answer the human needs basically. So if you also can think about that as a working class person, as a youth, it's not about the amount I get today, it's about building a system. And someone said that there's no secret success, there's only system. If you can get a system that works, you have gotten it. For example, the COVID, like I gave an example, the COVID situation came and people went to the max business. Some people actually went to learn how to, create the alcohol-based water.
Logistics business.
Logistics business. I'm talking about the, what they call sanitizer, hand sanitizer, and several things. So what am I trying to say? Every dispensation has its gateway of opportunities and people need to ride there. So again, when we say double failure rate, we're not saying you should deliberately fail. We're just letting you know that failure is going to come. But like a student, you should understand an entrepreneur, being in an entrepreneurial system is school in itself. So you must be willing to learn the failures. You must also be willing to learn how to translate that in success. That's the most important thing. But as an entrepreneur, you are not going to start and automatically, in short, we call it, that's a word we use. If you start your business and then the profits start coming in, you've actually not succeeded. Because what you don't know how it came, you are not also going to be able to hold it. It's not possible. You're going to let it go. So the most important thing is that we are reskilling ourselves. And people that are already entrepreneurs and maybe you've been an entrepreneur for 5 years or for 7 years, it looks like nothing is working. A lot of time, the challenge is that you've not gone back to check the foundation that leads to success in entrepreneurship. Three things are very critical. What kind of thoughts do you have? What inform your thoughts? What paradigm shift do you need to have? Another thing that is also very important, your emotions around business is very key. There's something in animals they call pheromones. Now, a lot of business will understand what I refer to in terms of emotional intelligence. Animals have this chemical connection called pheromones. The same thing with humans also. If I wake up in the morning and I feel bad about my business and I talk to a customer, automatically there's an energy around that conversation that they don't know about it, but you're not going to be able to blend. It's not going to work. So the first thing you need to do in the morning, wake up with a sense of self-confidence, get motivated. If you have to listen to the same motivation, and please listen to them and get yourself upbeat for the day. And it's going to show in your skin, in your glow, in everything. So that's another problem with a lot of Nigerian small-scale enterprise owners or entrepreneurship, they're already launching into the day as failures, aligned with a failure trajectory and not with a success mindset. Launch out there. Get your phone. How much does it take? Get 100 naira MTN, get 100 naira Glow, get 100 naira recharge card. Make sure that, I normally tell people this, every single day an entrepreneur, call at least 30 prospects or 30 customers. Call them. Yes. Yes, they don't, nobody, if you are selling something, I don't know until you are able to communicate with me. I know, okay, so the day I'm thinking about buying that thing, I not remember, she told me about it, and then I can connect. So these are one secret that a lot of business people don't, the ones that actually do well, they know about it. Keep in touch with your customers every now and then. You are here to grow a customer base, then find a way to launch out with your customers. Use your social media platforms, use everything you can. Step out of the house. Don't stay inside. The moment you stay inside thinking, you're not going to grow. Step out there and get street smart. I believe it's really going to do it all around.
A very big thank you, Mr. Charles. I think you've just done wonders to the conversation.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Those are free consultancy, conversations there. I think you ought to pay for this, but Charles has given it to you free of charge. Just go out there and, grow yourself, self-reliance, get a skill and get something doing. Don't wait for the government of the day to get you a job, but you by yourself get yourself a job. We'll just take a very quick break and we'll come back. It will be the 1560 by Pix Timinimi.